All right. Yeah, make sure you get that position right, buddy boy. Well, let's see. 3, 2, 1. Are you ready? All right, let's do this, everybody. First of all, for all of those that are online right now, do you see any big disturbing delay in the voices? Say some so we can see.
Very important. Probably do like a zoom in on our faces so that they can match the audio or back or front. Or something.
Yeah, you need that microphone closer there.
My hands are too short.
All right, and you can see the chat, so you'll have to like let me know if like people say, "Oh my God, the delay is ridiculous."
Flame is low.
Flame was muted, by the way. It's fine. Okay, talk now.
Hello, everybody. This is WoW Wrap Up, episode number 3. It is Thursday, and we are sweating like motherfuckers.
It's very hot outside, even now, even though it's like quite the evening around here. But first things first, so we want to make sure that the desync audio with the faces you see here isn't that problematic. So please let us know if the sound is okay. And we can carry on from there. Help us.
Delays 0. Thank you, Soccer Dude, for the Prime. We appreciate all the support.
Appreciate you, man. We love you.
We can actually, if you guys have we wanted to mention this as well before, but probably mention just before we start again, since more people might be coming in. But at the end, we can answer any questions, any things you have, like super chats, like stuff like that. During the whole process, we kind of want to stay on topic. We're gonna clip this stuff and so make videos out of it for Marcelian Online channel and Marcelian&Flame channel, which is our second one. You can access that.
We're gonna do the whole intro once we know everything is Gucci in terms of like the sound and stuff.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So no, you don't see any delays from like the audio and while we're talking anything like that. So are we good to go, folks? That's what we're asking here.
It's the important part.
Yeah, because I think it's like important to every time have an intro up until the wrap-up show kind of gains its own little traction and identity.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll let everybody know what is this about, like, because I'm guessing every time we get some people who don't know what the hell is this. This is not gameplay. This is not Flame. And who the fuck is Marcelian?
I see Marcelian, but who's that other guy, right? Because that's exactly what's up.
Yeah,
and it doesn't help that when we do footage, I'm playing a character called Flame, and you play a character called Flame, and it's like, and then we put Mokti's footage with 2 flames in his part. It's like, who the fuck even works at this fucking shit?
I mean, might as well play with it, right? So are we good?
Yeah, we're getting the crowd ready. We're 50 strong on Twitch and 40 on YouTube.
Oh, that's fine. People will gather. I just was curious if the sound is alright and we can kick it off. Yeah, it's gonna be a hot session.
It's gonna be spicy, and this is only June. God damn it!
Oh man, yeah, it's already heating up outside. Man, can you imagine doing this shit in the middle of July
or August?
July is gonna be the peak, right? So let's kick it off. So what is this? This is Wrap Up. Okay, Wrap Up is our newest show. It's always streamed on both Twitch and Marcelian Online, the YouTube channel. The VOD is going to be completely full on for everybody to see if you missed it on the Marcelian Online channel.
On YouTube, basically.
On YouTube, yeah, not on Twitch. But if you don't want to see like the full VOD or whatever, we always going to have like weekly clips of the most important things be placed on our new channel, which you can check out. It's called YouTube. No, it's youtube.com/@Marcelian&Flame. The channel name is Marcelian&Flame, but YouTube doesn't allow signs.
Generating the codes is going to be fine. Yeah. So far, we've had all of our topiques covered in videos.
Almost all. Not everything will make it in because the more important parts we take out and produce into a big. I want to say like super quality videos, but let's say higher produced videos for the Marcelian Online
with like kind of like a script and actual talking points recorded separately. But we do usually cover the entirety of the week's news in the WoW Wrap Up show.
Whatever happened or whatever we deemed important, because like this is like targeted to be an hour to 2 hours stream, sometimes 3 hours, depending on how many stuff is to cover or whatever. So we have to like at some point filter stuff out, and it's a good thing to filter stuff out because there's times in WoW where you don't have shit to talk about. But yeah, I think in the last couple of months we had it. So yeah, this is the wrap up. As Flame mentioned at the beginning, like we are not really going into what everybody's saying in the chat. It's not in this disrespectful manner, but we do want to focus on the topics, and at the end we can chat a little about what you guys think and whatever.
So like a quick Q&A section, if like we have like super chats or subs or stuff like that. We do see you guys. We super appreciate it, but we want to kind of stay on topic and get to the meat of things.
And notifications I think are turned off as well.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
so we appreciate, like, don't get it twisted. We see it and we appreciate it, and hopefully we can like give the everybody their flowers at the end of it, right? Okay, so what are we talking about today on the wrap up?
I mean, the hottest thing has to be the Mythic Plus affixes, the new ones for the first season of The War Within, which are spicy, dude.
Oh man,
I haven't seen a spicy topic like this in a very long time.
Hey man, I haven't eaten a spicy chicken in a long time, but hey, stranger things have happened.
Toilet paper gets saved that way.
We don't talk about that on stream, Flame. You know that. Okay, so let's get into the affixes because prefacing this, we needed some changes to Mythic Plus. There's still changes needed to healing, nothing confirmed yet, but speculating a bunch.
For sure.
So we have the first steps into Mythic Plus changes and updates, and we started it off with the affixes. I believe like it's cool to like first out read their philosophy and what their target is.
Kind of know where they're intending to go with all of this,
because they have new affixes and some affixes have been removed. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through the points that they made here. Okay, so the objectives of these changes: shift the source of challenge to the dungeon itself by simplifying affix design and emphasizing creature abilities. Theoretically, this is really good. Like, yeah, make the
basically
dungeon.
what we've been called.
Yeah, I think we made at least 25,000 videos about this. Okay, second one: reduce visual noise, nameplate clutter, and the cognitive load on players during trash combat. This is an interesting one because, like, out of all of this, I'm thinking about the nameplate clutter. I don't know how this is going to happen, and I don't know if this is like an affix situation. It can be an affix situation, but I do feel, and we mentioned this in a lot of the videos, there's so many things going on in trash mobs, so many interrupts, so many casts, so many different things that you have to like have player profiles to like get everything in order and push properly. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, not derailing too much. Third objective is allow for varied and context-specific gameplay decisions depending on the dungeon they are applied to. Okay, this is we're gonna have to like debate this if this is like if they're nailing the mark on this, because the objectives theoretically, like on paper, they sound great, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, additionally, these affixes will include a positive effect. So yes, everybody knows it's gonna be the kiss curse. Yeah, so kiss curse mechanics. Okay, the aim of these positive effects is to highlight different damage types each week, allowing each specialization additional opportunities to excel during the season. Okay, so when I read this, the first thing that came into my mind is not the opportunities to excel during the season, is like the opportunity to get these specs in and ignore those. We'll get to that. Okay, so we'll get to all these because I believe there are positives and negatives to this. All right, so all right. Now these effects should feel like a bonus, offering an advantage for different damage profiles each week without being essential to complete a dungeon. Yeah, okay, this one, big question marks. Players will have an opportunity to flex towards different talents, gearing options, and consumables to capitalize on these effects. Okay, so now we know the theory. Now we know what they're striving for. And again, this is the first iteration of this. I think this, what we're doing here and what other creators are doing and people like feedback on the forums, this is important because there's still time to make this a lot better. So let's check out. We going through them?
Yeah,
or do you want to talk about a little bit of the philosophy?
No, I think the philosophy is on point. We can actually go through the philosophy as we talk about these affixes because I think the philosophy is going to be evident in their actual design.
Okay, let's look at them. So we have here the 4 new affixes. Kicking it off with Reckless. Non-boss enemies without...
Wait a second. When you do that shit, the whole mixer lights up.
Mixer?
Yeah, my OBS. I'm just...
What
when you say when you kick it off, like the volume just goes crazy. It's full on red.
It's cool. It's cool. All right. Well, we tested. We yelled, and it's fine. If I break your ears, let me know. I wouldn't know because Flame will have to let me know because I don't see no chat.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so Reckless. Non-boss enemies without mana ignore 20% armor with their attacks, but their armor is reduced by 30% and they take 10% increased arcane damage. Okay, Flame, you kick it off first, then I'll talk.
This is clearly affecting tanks, and whoever is the cash that costs Arcane, I think that's Arcane Mage, clearly. That's Balanced Druids. I don't know if any other class has a relevant amount of arcane damage where that would matter. So there are a couple of good things and a couple of bad things. The good things is that, you know, if you have arcane damage, you're going to do more damage during this week. The bad thing is that this affecting the tank doesn't affect all the tanks at the same time, and we are, you know, made accustomed with these affixes like necrotic, where not all tanks get affected the same way.
Yeah.
Armor is going to smash bears a lot more than other tanks, paladins and warriors as well. It's going to make brewmasters terrible, but you know they have less armor to take away from. So it depends on how that exactly
is a word. Welcome to the
Gets
Marcelian
tuned.
Online Dictionary.
So it matters how it's going to be tuned in the end. Having less armor is, you know, it's good for the melees because they get to do more damage as well. And taking arcane damage, I think that's the major content that everybody has with this, because not all specs are going to be affected equally.
Yes, this is the biggest problem, and we're gonna go through like all of the affixes, but clearly I feel like when looking at this, clearly tank design, obviously, and I don't see a world where you would make these affixes for tanks, and then you're going to see some healers going to be affected as well, and just leave the DPS out of it. Because, yeah, you do increase arcane damage, and you're going to have some specs that would deal more. Now, this is okay up until a point, because obviously you can see the restriction here. If you want to push high keys, or if you want to get that, I don't know, last crest or whatever, and you have to push that into a good timer, and because of the tuning of this, the arcane damage that is in that week will be the differentiator.
Will be
for
the shiznit.
Yeah, for that dungeon. Then we're gonna have a problem. So the restrictions, I don't mind Kiss Curse, but I don't feel this is Kiss Curse right now.
Yeah, it depends.
This is restriction, not restriction, which is what the fuck.
There's two things that we need to keep in mind. First of all, this is the first iteration, and no affixes that have been tested first on beta or PTR have gone in that same state on live once it goes off. So these are going to change.
Yeah, well,
the numbers matter. If they want that arcane damage to matter, and this applies to all the other affixes, if they want the kiss part of it to matter, they would have to make it a little bit bigger. If they make it too big, then it would feel mandatory to bring the class that provides you with that particular damage profile. If they make it too small, it will not be a kiss anymore because it doesn't really matter too much. So it depends on how that 10% scales, and it will of course not scale the same for everybody. It will of course not apply to all of the mobs in the dungeon. So this requires a lot of actual gameplay testing, which is obviously going to happen later today as they release the M+ to be tested in the PTR. But the concept of it is good. It's not going to affect. And you know who doesn't do arcane damage? All of the tanks don't do arcane damage.
Well, Bear could go for.
Actually, that is true.
Yeah.
But Bear is like
Bear,
the only one. Yeah.
Bear can go for it.
If you pick the right hero talents for that. So it's a lot very specific.
Different topic there. Okay, let's go for the second one, because the second one is still, I believe, a tank one. So this is Thorned. Non-boss enemies without mana inflict physical damage to their attackers when attacked, but take 10% increased holy and shadow damage. Okay, so on the first one, we had the 30% increased arcane damage. Now here we have 10% holy and shadow. Let me ask you, is this because we have a bigger pool of specs that will deal holy and shadow as opposed to the arcane? Because we have 30% arcane.
It's 10% arcane.
10%, sorry.
It's 30% less armor.
Yeah,
so
I was looking for the armor. Yeah, and then never mind. Ignore that. But okay, same restriction applies here, but I think like you have a little bit more, a bigger pool of DPSers, because you're looking for the DPS here. Okay,
that could be true,
DPS?
but you can also say that holy affects more healers than arcane does. Arcane affects zero healers, right? I mean, does priest have anything to do with arcane?
No.
So
I don't.
This actually buffs healers as well. Although I'm not sure how many.
What are they buffing? They're buffing their damage.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. I'm not sure how many healers are actually excited about having their damage buffed in a dungeon. I don't think that's what they would be complaining about.
I think they're expecting something else. When you talk about shadow damage, now you obviously can talk about, you know, the shadow, all of the priest specs basically, and discipline will benefit too about this because it has to deal damage to heal.
Yeah.
But you also losing, like, I don't know, on holy decay. I think warlocks have some shadow damage in there as well.
Yes.
Isn't chaos damage like shadow and fire?
That's the thing. It should be
or not?
I don't know how they calculate
Shadow
anymore.
Flame.
Wasn't Chaos not normally just like all damage types at one
Oh
point?
yeah, I think Chaos is all damage types. Yeah,
But it definitely includes fire. So I don't know if we have fire here in the list. I don't think so.
Oh, yeah, we do. We'll get
But
to
it's
that.
usually but Warlock damage profile. If you take Chaos out, is usually just fire and shadow. So it's definitely gonna take
but
some.
Let's
some
get
of
back
that.
to the tanking part. So non-boss enemies with Amana inflict physical damage to their attackers. Now, is this the same argument here? I mean,
It's for all party members.
I know, but
This is
when you're talking about some people deal better with physical damage taken in than others. This is what I'm saying.
Okay, so thorns. We don't know what type of damage that thorns is. It has to be physical, otherwise we'll brick the tanks. If it's too high, if it's too low, then once again it doesn't matter. If it's physical, then it might affect DPSers differently. Because let's say you're a fire mage and you're blasting combustion, but that thorns damage gets reflected back at you. Does it affect you for each damage event? Does it affect you, for instance, like if you're a Fist of Fury Windwalker and every tick of the Fist of Fury, do you take a flat amount of thorns damage? Do you take a percentage of the damage that you do? How much is this skill? Because this is an interesting concept. I mean, we've known from other RPGs games when you do damage, it gets reflected back at you. That's kind of like a sketchy moment because it will never affect all of the specs the same way. So it has to be probably a generic amount that's very flat and maybe scales with keys. Like for each damage event, you take 100 damage, and that's maybe capped at like once per second. You cannot get it more than once per second, so that it doesn't go degenerate if you do like 10 damage events in like 1 second with like a lot of procs and a lot of ticks and things like that.
Yeah. So basically, it's still up for grabs, and we really want to see how it plays out in the testing. So we'll definitely tomorrow on the stream we're gonna have.
Yeah, for sure. We're gonna be testing them all tomorrow on the screen. But this is definitely something that healers will be sweating about because everybody's gonna always take damage.
This is what I'm saying. You see the first one, you see the second one. You can clearly see they're putting some pressure on both tanks and healers. And one thing that healers right now in Dragonflight do not want is more pressure. But we'll get to that. Okay, let's check out the third one. Attuned. Non-boss enemies with mana inflict 20% increased magic damage, but take 10% increased nature damage and 30% increased damage from bleed effects. Now, when I first read this, I was like, "Oh my God, final assassination! Feral is gonna be."
Right.
But then I was thinking, so basically these specs are gonna be viable. What is it? Once per month.
Often they will rotate, but
well, it's like once per week. Okay, so this is like
once per month.
Yeah, this is one big one, and we got the other one. So yeah, one of these bleed specs. All right, so talking feral and assassination are going to be like probably the most invited melee specs in the group once per month. Once per cycle.
But we can say probably the same thing for all other affixes. There might be 1 or 2 spec exceptions that will be viable for more than 1 week per month. Once again, that 30% is a lot if you're talking about assassination and feral, and in shaman does nature damage. Balance druid probably does not nature and arcane.
Nature damage that's also rogues. Like they're
so
poisons.
All of the poisons.
This is basically the rogue affix because you want.
I mean, rogue benefits from double dips here.
Yeah, this is double dip for sure. But this is again, I cannot stress this enough because this is the team basically. The theme of all of these. So depending on how the numbers will roll for this, it's going to be insanely restrictive. And listen, we all queued in LFR, or not in LFR, in the looking for group stuff. We all know how much we get. You can be a 3K non-meta spec, you'll not get invited. That's it. Now, if you're going to have that mentality with these restrictions on, it's gonna be a fuckfest. So this is the main problem. The concept, the concept for these are amazing. I just feel they're going the wrong route with this. This could have been much easier, and I feel like we should save like our versions of this maybe towards the end, so we can maybe give a better solution to what these would mean. But conceptually it's interesting. It's nice. You have to take in the Mythic plus player mentality right now. Plus, I think most people pug, and most people do not go into organized groups. This is another thing. Most people pug, and because how gearing works nowadays and how you get your crests and all of the currencies to upgrade, you have to do Mythic plus, and the big majority will pug. I'm sure a lot of you have pugged, and I'm sure a lot of you had miserable experiences in pugs, us included. So there's nobody's that we're not always playing together. Sometimes we pug ourselves. Okay. Enough about that. Let's check out the fourth one. Fourth one is focused. Non-boss enemies with mana have 30% increased haste. Holy shit. But take 10% increased frost and fire damage. Okay, so frost damage again applies to
Well, Frostfire,
2 specs.
Fire Mage and Frostfire.
Yeah, I get it. Mages all over the board, but what else? We got
Shamans have frost damage.
Frost decay.
DKs have frost. I think
Shaman. Does Shaman have?
don't you apply Frost Fever with Unholy too?
Yeah, I do, but that's
it's a tiny bit.
It's nothing.
Yeah. So there are definitely more specs that dip a little bit, some specs that double dip. It's once again, I'm sure that if we want to make like a concise opinion about all of this, we can probably make a spreadsheet with these are all the specs with how much damage they did with each element type, and if we have this wheel graph thing with all of the affixes, they each benefit about 23% of all these. Like we could probably just math that shit out, and then that's fine. That's probably going to be tuned around and played around with, and probably these numbers like maybe you'll have less fire and frost damage but more shadow damage or things like that. Who knows? But that's one thing. The other thing is also something that affects tanks, which is also in the previous affix as well, is that tanks die on magic damage. That is a given. They just topple over. Whether mobs do more magic damage or they do it way faster.
They do it with 30. They have bloodlust, dude.
30% haste means you gotta kick the shit out of these mobs or your tanks will die. I can definitely see stuff like Blood Decay and Vengeance Demon Hunter excelling way more in these weeks, while the other armor tanks maybe a little bit more on the other one. But then again, I feel like these are definitely not equal across the board, and we need like a pool of thousands of keys done with all of the specs in the game to see exactly how it averages out in the end.
I'll tell you this. If we're going to have this affix unfocused and we're going to have the same old... Right now, we tested like heroic and normal dungeons, yeah? Are we frozen?
No.
We're good. Okay. So right now, we tested normal and heroic, right? We'll have to see how this translates into Mythic Plus, because if we're going to have yet another pool of dungeons where like casts all over the place and you have to like focus a million different interrupts, and if you cannot interrupt you have to CC, and those bastards get 30% increased haste to cast that, it's gonna be all out chaos. And this is the one that worries me the most.
And we're thinking, the thing is, somebody in chat actually makes a really good point. We're thinking about this in a vacuum with just them being like this, but you have to add the other affix on top of it. And when you
we're not getting
when you have raging with the haste and you cannot kick anything.
We're getting to that. We're getting to that. So these are the 4. We'll get to the ones that are, the second ones that get in. But these are the 4. Now, what I can see here. So apart from the bleed effect, so we're looking at the positive, the kiss effect. All right. So we have frost, fire, holy, shadow, arcane damage. Guess what tank is able to provide benefits for all of these magic schools?
Vengeance, clearly.
This is the problem, This is the problem. So you're clearly going to have a Vengeance Demon Hunter regardless. So
it's going to be good everywhere.
It's going to be good. It's good now. Like right now in the tank meta, Vengeance is everything. Okay, now I'm not talking about the rework and the hero talents, blah, blah, blah. But these effects, these positive effects in terms of like the tank, you're going to have Vengeance 100%, and I can trust, if you like playing Prot Paladin, Prot Warrior, Guardian, fuck that 10% arcane damage for your Guardian, man. You're going to have to like use that Chaos brand to buff everybody else in that group, okay? I think the only time you'll not have Vengeance is that once a week where you have the bleed effects, which is like whatever, it's fine, nobody buffs that. But again, this is like very worrisome, and the fact that you take like, man, this looks... The most punishing it looks for healers, and the most beneficial it looks for one tank.
Definitely the most punishing. So
what the fuck?
So okay, so let's round it up a little bit. Overall, their philosophy is good. It's good that they're thinking about providing a Kiss Curse affix with a benefit that if you play it right, you actually have a bonus. There's still a thing to mention that this doesn't affect all of the mobs in the dungeon and does not affect bosses, which if you've pushed keys high enough, one of the biggest issues will become tyrannical bosses. Sometimes big pools for tanks will crush you at Fortified later on, but that's very subjective and very individual rather. The other thing is that the kiss part of it is not universal. So whenever we've had good kiss mechanics, they were I want to say agnostic to everybody's spec, but relative to everybody's spec. You either have like a generic buff of you get more haste or you get more crit, or you just have flat damage increases. That's good, and that's probably a little bit better than what we have right now because these are very specific. I understand why they're doing this because they want to include all of the specs and not feel like people are left out. But then again, maybe it will exacerbate that problem for every other week where that's not your spec. Where let's say if I want to main a mage, each week I'll probably have to switch my spec to be able to be invited into a dungeon.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because we can preface Dragonflight being like the most alt-friendly expansion, and I believe War Within will be even friendlier than that.
True.
So if this is a reflection of them like moving towards you play a lot more specs than just one, I could like maybe understand where they're going with this.
See, you still want to do the dungeons on the spec that's not that weak spec.
Yes,
you know?
that's the thing. But again, if you have like so here's the deal. If you want to like get to like max level, max stats, or close to pushing keys in a relevant way, a character, it takes you quite a while. If this quite a while is a lot more condensed in the War Within, and you can have like 3 characters ready and up and going for any type of key, I can maybe see how this could work. On the other hand, it's still a problem in the sense that I feel like the pressure is being put on the tanks and healers the most.
That was the other thing that I wanted to mention as well. One of the biggest issues, like Mythic Plus still has a lot of issues that we've talked about over multiple videos, but probably the biggest issue, and I think Bellular also pointed this out accurately, is that the worst thing that you can have in pugs is maybe get invited, maybe not, but is finding a tank and finding a healer.
Especially a healer.
Most, but that's probably a symptom of Dragonflight, although we're not really sure where the philosophy of healing is in the War Within because...
Not looking good with these affixes, homie, let me tell you that.
It's already spicy for you guys, I've noticed, because it takes a lot to build up the HP bar of people, but the HP bar of people still seems to dip quite fast compared to how fast you can put it back up.
It's basically the heart attack gameplay, which nobody really enjoys. Like, oh my god, he's dying.
Yeah, so I think part of this, either make the kisses better for
no gift.
make them more generic, or actually affect healers and tanks universally in all of the weeks. Make them so that, I don't know, healers spend less mana, or healers get haste actually, maybe to cast faster, or maybe give versatility or something like that, or maybe just something that just makes their life a little bit easier because it's right now
to them.
Probably the biggest barrier into Mythic Plus is actually finding those other roles. You might have an easier time getting tanks, but you still have to wait quite a bit.
It's still real. Like you have a hard time even finding. So even if you have a healer in your group, finding a tank still takes quite a while. And I don't understand why they're not incentivizing a lot more these, because I don't believe like DPS necessarily need the kisses as much as the other 2 specs. I incentivize the tanks and the healers to get into the dungeons, like make everybody roll more healers and roll more tanks to have a good time. But so far I don't see it happening with this. Okay, so right, so we talked about these. This is not without the fact that some of the affixes are going away. So I have to touch on these because I was very happy to see some of these go away.
Oh my god.
The most annoying. So like
I know where you're going with this.
The most because you know it too, man. Every melee knows about this. Like the whole storming bullshit and the swirlies everywhere. Like it's so annoying. Listen. I like a challenge. I like a game to be difficult. I like to bash my brain on a spec to understand it and play it properly. I like hard content. That is not hard content, my friend. It never was. It was annoying content.
Yeah, there's a difference.
It's a difference. So because you think about hard content. Like give me an example. Like Souls games, right? Like when that shit is hard, but eventually
it has a big payoff moment. That's the problem with these affixes and the why we're having Kiss Curse affixes. We need a counterplay that gives you a payoff moment, that gives you a reward. The reward shouldn't be continuing with the dungeon. The reward should be something like, oh my god, I just did this. I'm so much better. Eat 3 stormings, get 3% haste, stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, but okay, let's see who goes away. Okay, so we get afflicted. Bye bye.
Yes.
Incorporeal.
Not sad to see you go.
See ya, bitch. Entangling. I didn't really.
Fuck you.
I didn't really have a problem with entangling.
Tank more on entangling. Moving the pack away, moving it out of the things.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Stormwing, yes, okay. That for me, that's like playing like melee is okay. And Volcanic, I haven't played that much casters this expansion.
It was less annoying than Storming, and it didn't do that much
less
damage.
even for casters.
Oh, it was Volcanic actually was almost a non-issue. It only became a problem when there was a lot of mobs and when you had tight spaces. But that's true for probably all affixes. But it's fine if they get rid of the Storming. Volcanic is the caster version of Storming, right? So they have to give away that as well.
For sure. All right. So these are going away, and we're pretty much happy these are going away. These were annoying. These were not like they were not spicing up the gameplay. You did not get any rewards out of it. Oh, I dodged 3 Stormwings. Now I'm able to use my finisher. Holy shit! What a cool gameplay mode. Now fuck that. But we do have still the +7 affix bucket, which is raging, bolstering, bursting, and sanguine.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I have hot takes on all this. Nobody's gonna like what I have to say about these.
All right, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
All right, so with all of these affixes, I don't particularly have a big issue with. I'm not saying that they're good affixes because I see a lot of people having problems with sanguine.
I never saw the problem either.
It's not a big issue considering all the other affixes we have, because what Sanguine does is make you adjust the pools. The problem with Sanguine is the entire rest of the game's design, which if we cannot move away from mages needing stuff into their Blizzard, the warlocks needing their stuff into Rain of Fire, DKs needing their stuff into Death and Decay, as long as we're never moving away from that, then probably Sanguine has to go as well. However, what these affixes have in common, and why I personally am kind of okay with them, is that they let you play the dungeon and you don't have to do stuff outside of the dungeon. Raging essentially makes you actually think of the packs you pull and the mobs you pull, and that was the initial design of this, and the purpose of this is to kind of adjust your pulls with this. But people just pull everything anyway because the timer is so restrictive, because you don't have that many options in the dungeon design. So it's not like, well, with Raging we need to pull 2 casters less.
And also, let's put this out there. People love pulling big packs and damaging big packs. That's a given. So you're never going to stop that, whatever the affix is. And especially in pugs, people will not care. They'll not care about bolstering. They'll not care about bursting. Fuck, we didn't even care about like bursting. We're like, even we're not fucking pre-made. Like the poor
handle
healer,
it. Handle it, healer.
Handle 9 stacks of that shit. Good luck. So people do not care, okay? The fact that they keep on these for whatever purpose, that purpose just goes to shit, especially for bolstering and bursting. Nobody will care. They'll want big packs. The problem, the thing is, they should probably get rid of these as well, because what these do is they make it harder for them to design mobs. If we're going to live in a world where we're fine with these affixes, that means we're going to have to get rid of mobs that have double the HP of other mobs in a pack. We're going to have to get rid of chain or cast sequences of mobs that just stay in Sanguine for 10 years, because you cannot kick them, you cannot move them, and a mob died 20 seconds ago, but that dude is still casting its sequence there, so that's a problem, right? Cast sequences and it casts that sequence with 30% haste during that affix, right?
Well,
so
listen,
good luck.
that's going to be very fun, okay? But at least it's going to move faster out of the Sanguine, because it's going to finish the sequence over. But that's the thing, right? The problem is that they actually can do really cool dungeons with really cool mechanics and mobs, interesting, but these affixes are holding it back.
This is against their philosophy. They want to simplify the whole shebang and have the dungeon itself be much more compelling and whatever. Well, you're not really doing that with these affixes. You're still relying on, mobs being in the sanguine pool or being bolstered or whatever to make it interesting. Why?
Funnily enough, I think they actually realized that with the new affixes, and much less so with the older ones, with the Raging, Bolstering, Bursting, and Sanguine. I think we can probably get rid of these as well. I don't know what they would put instead of them, but who is going to say no to more Kiskers?
Oh, man. Yeah, but okay, so we're still going to have the Raging, Bolstering, Bursting, and Sanguine. Bursting is one that some healers can handle really well, some others not. Priest, yeah, I gotta love the Priest. I never minded Sanguine that much, but you do make a strong point, and I feel other people made strong points for this as well. A lot of the class mechanics do evolve around keeping them in one place.
Here's why I don't mind these affixes as well as a tank player, because they usually affect tanks a little bit more, bolstering and Sanguine, that is. If you know what you're doing, if you like to play your tank well, if you manage to kite a pack properly out of Sanguine, you actually are getting rewarded for playing a little bit better. You stand out a little bit. It's like, okay, as a tank, I know how Sanguine works. I'm constantly moving the pack as the mobs are dying, and they don't end up actually staying in Sanguine for a lot of time. I feel like these affixes actually punish bad tanks way more than they should. As with bolstering, right? If you know what you're doing as a tank with bolstering, you can pull a big pack and you know that dude is going to hit you 5 times harder. You have your defensives prepped. But if you're a new tank, this completely kills new tank experience, period. So the discrepancy between the punishment levels maybe is a little bit too high. Maybe that's what people have a problem with. But then again, once again, even if you do play these affixes right, the only thing you're doing is just enabling your party to progress to the dungeon. And I don't think that's the reward in of itself. That's the purpose of you already being there. We need some kind of bonus for being able to do these affixes right.
I just say get rid of them. This is so. I was so happy reading their intent to making like the dungeons and the mobs in the dungeons like much more compelling and probably in some sense difficult or interesting. I wouldn't say difficult, but then again you're keeping these again. We never had like super big issues with some of these. I can see a big issue, like especially as a Death Knight, like when there's Sanguine, and at some point I have to put my Defile down and do some damage. But hey, they start dying. I have no more charges of Defile. Then it's not a good feeling, and this goes for a lot of specs as well. Now, are we going to see this being like? Question is this designed for the big player base, or is this designed like for, I don't know?
I feel like the intent of this is for the generic player base, because
it doesn't feel very friendly.
The design, okay, so for the new affixes, so for the new affixes, it definitely says like, okay, if you play an arcane mage and not the meta fire mage, you will have at least 1 week when people will want you in that group, right? That's the participation trophy, okay? That's basically what these affixes kind of say with their very particular damage intake profile with arcane, shadow, blah, 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 blah. How it will end up being is because WoW players are degenerate fucks, I mean, we're included. Like, dude, yes. I need these 3 specs. Yes. I need these enchant procs that proc this particular damage for that 0.1% damage increase, because we're going to smash that plus 15, right? That's probably how it's going to end up being, because people like to optimize. But I feel that that's fine for the end game player. That's probably better for to make it better for like newer players, to get more people in, to feel like they're not ostracized for playing the spec. Dude, I just like Feral, but nobody invites me if I'm not a boomkin, right?
You basically answered my question. So I feel this is not too new player friendly, or new players. It's hard to get new players into WoW right now. But let's talk about the big masses, the pugs. Yeah. Okay, so people who pug, who are not played in coordinated groups or whatever. This is going to be a nightmare. As I've mentioned in the beginning, already you have a hard time getting into a Mythic Plus group if you're like not at a certain item level. So even if you want to do a +8, people will look out for you to be like 530 or something, 520 something plus. Okay, this is ridiculous. If you want to do a +8 now, you better have at least 3K rating or something. So it's something ridiculous. If you are part of that crowd and you are not able to achieve these, and then you go into these affixes and you're not part of the special kids during the week, good luck finding any dungeon. And this is like one of the problems, because I do feel Mythic Plus has become one of like the staple, game modes in the game. Definitely in the beginning, like when they introduced it in Legion, it was interesting, it was new, it was fresh, it was like everybody was excited. Okay, yeah, make dungeons relevant again, and it did that. But I feel now would be the time, because the War Within is shaping up to be probably the best expansion ever. Okay, I'm just putting it out there. Okay, we thought Dragonfly is going to be that, but it sucked during the story, right? It's a different discussion. So everything is kind of positive in regards to the War Within so far. Okay.
Yeah.
Mythic Plus would have been the perfect opportunity to just mold it as your community is trying to tell you how to mold it. And I can understand the complaints from other people, like even high key pushers, like from like, I don't know, the ranks of the dorky growl, all of those folks, up until like, the peasants, us, okay, we're peasants, we're pushing 10,
I accept
12s.
My fate.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think this is it. The concept is nice. Okay, the concept is nice. We can go there. That's fine. I feel it starts off very poorly by restricting stuff. Why do you have to put in all of the magic schools? this is my question. Okay, so let's start off from the base. Why putting magic?
Yeah,
schools?
that's what I meant in my opinion of it as well. I think their intent is to help new players, but the end result is just going to be the opposite one.
Yeah.
So this is my copium take, because we've been paying very close attention to all of the Mythic Plus changes for throughout the years, and definitely we've seen big leaps happening in Dragonflight for Mythic Plus, getting rid of the seasonal affix, moving affixes around, making smaller keys more relevant and more accessible to other people, which is great. So they're definitely on the right track. I do like to believe that this is the first step into making Mythic Plus better. It's a step, it's a positive step, but it could turn into 2 steps backwards.
I would call it a step. It's more like just moving on a tip, or like
a little
ballerina
nudge,
tip. You know what I mean?
Nudge,
just
right?
just a tip.
So long as they're very receptive to feedback, I think this is also a set of affixes that is very hard to judge without actual data, because it could very well end up being a non-issue. There could be just so few mobs that actually are affected by these affixes that you might not even care in the end, right?
We're just dream crafting
here. So it's nice to have an opinion. We cannot wait to actually test them out to see exactly how they end up, but it's good to know that their philosophy is going in the right direction, and I would be entirely surprised if they would be able to do all of the affixes new at once. So I think asking for stuff like Bolstering, Raging, Sanguine to also be out of the game might be a little bit too much off the bat, because they probably want to kind of cross-reference how the +4 affixes work with the +7 affixes, and then maybe take it one step at a time, not just like blow out, nuke all of the affixes and come up with new ones, right? So that's why probably it's taking a little bit longer to get them all done.
Yeah, I would say get rid of. So if I were to like put something in this, just get rid of the magic schools for all of them. Okay, so the curse part is okay. Let's keep the curse, but then compensate everything else. So if you're gonna do increased arcane damage, just do increased damage. That's okay. You said you wanted simplified. There's simplified. Increased damage. Yeah. Fuck all the restrictions. And also when you're looking at like something like reckless, and even thorn, where you would take like increased physical damage, and especially like really punishing for tanks, then you can have this be like a much more positive thing for the healers. Have healing increased, even off healing. Like in a situation where you would take where your tanks would be in a bigger danger of dying and messing up your key, then have all of the healing increased. And this also implies hybrid specs. Like, okay, if you're gonna have your healers, first of all, do a lot more healing. You're also gonna have like the shamans, the paladins, the priests, the druids.
Monks, yeah.
All the off heals will also contribute to this. It's a much simpler and much more rewarding way. Why do you? This is the thing. This so takes me back to like their stubbornness of overly complicating things for no goddamn reason. You say you want it simplified. You put in fucking 5 different damage schools, and
then that just creates 7 spreadsheets for every spec.
Yes.
As to which week is the best one to actually push the dungeon wins. But I do agree with what you said, and I was actually thinking about the same thing. How about narrowing down all of this magic damage buff, and then just add on top of it healing increased, absorbs created by actually doing stuff, or maybe when you kill stuff you get a bonus.
Simplified
It doesn't matter what you play.
Yeah, simplified stuff goes a long way, and I think we can see like from the success of the Red Paladin rework through a lot of other games that are not Souls-like. So when you simplify, because this is what Blizzard was always good at, okay, traditionally, you take a complicated concept, you simplify it, and you leave a tail end of in-depth and complexity for the people who need that and want to go there.
True.
So you're always going to have like super theory crafty mathing out everything, regardless of how you word these affixes on the plus side. So even if you're going to have like 10% increased damage, there are going to be a lot of theory crafters going, yeah, but spec X will do increased damage because of this, and that. That's fine. That's always going to be there. What we're saying here is, if you're going to simplify this, you're going to basically get people to have a much better time in Mythic Plus. And correct me if I'm wrong, but what are you doing in the game right now? Like, for the people who are actively playing. So actively playing for us means like you want to get some gear progression, you want to get your numbers a little bit higher. I'm not saying pushing mythic rates or the high skis, but actively
just
playing.
Logging in and playing.
Doing the stuff within the game. So not necessarily like chasing mounts and titles and achievements and whatever. So the active player base, this is what I'm referring to, would be either a lot more happy or happier, correctly. And I think you would also incentivize people who do not engage with this sort of like active gameplay to get in. Why? Because it's simple to understand. I don't think little Jimmy, who played a feral druid all his life and never heard of snapshotting and shit like that, will understand why he's not getting into his first attempt into a Mythic Plus, because the leader said, hey man, you don't have holy and shadow damage. Little Jimmy will not understand that. Jimmy's gonna be fucked up. He's probably gonna quit the game because of that. But if Jimmy sees that he will get into a Mythic Plus dungeon, and you will see the little icon there in the affix thing where the curses,
cat face saying is doing more.
Yeah, and you see plus 10% damage. That's easy to understand, and Jimmy will get invited to that, and he will not like feel, oh my god, what do I have to understand this? What is holy and shadow damage? I'm a feral. I do like scratch and bite and stuff. So simplifying it goes a long way, and you still have the in-depth at the end of it, right? Sure. So just to like round it up, because I think we chewed on this for a whole lot, but we care.
Like a gum.
We care, okay? We care. The start is good, okay? The start of this is good. I even though the game is out in 2 months, I really do hope they drop this Magic School thing. I really hope this is okay. If they want to still retain the Kiss Curse thing, fine, do it. It's okay. If you want to still retain all of these raging, bolstering, bursting, you still have tyrannical and fortified, mind you. I feel enough with that already. I don't mind it, but it's enough. It's come on. Can we think of something else, or just drop it? Make the bosses in the dungeons and the mobs do something else, or whatever. Design them much more engaging and interesting, and not rely on this tyrannical and fortified. I like fortified, especially as an unholy DK, but on tyrannical, I don't really, I don't care. Make a balance between the two. But getting back to it, so you want to keep these, that's fine. But for the new ones, for the love of God, just drop the schools of magic. Just drop them. There's no point. Why would you want to restrict this and pump up like a tank like Vengeance Demon Hunter even more? Because that's going to be the tank you're going to rock regardless of the week. And trust me, nobody's going to like to wait 3 weeks to be viable in that week of Mythic Plus. True. Nobody will like that. So it's because, you're restricted now. I don't see this happening in a world where you have the arcane damage buff and you will invite somebody who doesn't have arcane damage. Nobody will do that.
You'll invite that bear that's druid at the front. They're like, but.
I'm sorry. That's not it, Chief. Again, I really do admire them for finally trying something new and trying to change things, and this is very commendable.
Their heart is in the right place.
Yes, exactly. But we have to give this feedback, and I don't think we're the only ones. I think from what I read on the forums, and I've seen the videos and on Twitter, looking at comments on different videos and streams and stuff, nobody's really digging these too much. Everybody's they're
at least acknowledging a very crucial problem that I don't think can be fixed with affixes, and that's dungeon representation, which has been an ongoing issue in World of Warcraft for the longest time, and they just want spec representation to be there. Although spec representation is an issue, like we said, role representation is probably a bigger issue, and doing it with affixes that rotate out is not the choices. Maybe overall more arcane mages will play the dungeons, but it will feel worse when that arcane week is not up.
Arcane mages will play a lot more dungeons during 1 week in a month, and then you're not going to see them again. They're probably going to switch to.
It's better than 0 weeks, but listen, it's not quite it.
No, man. You just have to. I would say you do new affixes, but please put more emphasis on healers and tanks. This is it. We're missing these DPS. There's plenty of. Okay, that's fine. Put more emphasis. Give more wins to healers.
Yeah, we can have 3 Havocs in our group. I don't care. Just need to have that healer and tank there.
All right, cool. Let's check out what dungeons we are going to have in the Mythic Plus season.
I wonder what people's opinion about all of these are, because after playing in Dragonflight, I do have a take about this, and I don't know how much people will resonate with this as well. But with the dungeons that we know we're gonna be having so far, and we've played all of them on beta right now, we have the Stone Vault, the Dawnbreaker, Arakara, and City of Threads from the actual
the new expansion. Within. Yeah. This is it. And for the returning ones, because we
like this one.
We have some returning ones. We have Grim Batal from Cataclysm, the Necrotic Wake from Shadowlands, Mists of Tyrannusite from Shadowlands as well, and everyone's favorite, Siege of Borealis.
On Tyrannical on the last boss. You remember? No, you don't, because you've deleted that memory.
You deleted that, but it's coming back to haunt you. Oh man, this is so much to unpack. So okay. Now, in terms of like the War Within dungeons, we have the Stonewall. Okay, is there something here that like concerns you? Because I feel like for the most part they're fine, but we haven't really tested Mythic Plus so far. Normal. And
so
heroic.
in terms of like the dungeon layouts are like all of these dungeons are either very themed towards the first rate of the tier with the Arakara and City of Threads. They're both Nerubian dungeons, so they make sense for being there. The Stonewall and Dawnbreaker are very Shadow Darkness themed dungeons, although you could probably say that about the other dungeons as well. And they're very themed towards the new factions. The Stonewall is very heavily around the Earthen, and the Dawnbreaker is very heavily around the Arathi, right? So they kind of make sense to introduce new players into the season and kind of get them accustomed to the theme of the expansion. All of the dungeons in the War Within are actually really cool and really fun. The way you play them,
it's
right?
always like that when you get new dungeons.
Yeah, but that's because they are new dungeons.
Yes.
We've had a whole expansions of 4 of the new dungeons and 4 of the old dungeons, and I think this is probably the first time when they might actually feel a little bit worse, because the dungeons that we get from previous expansions are just recently we just got rid of them in the Necrotic Wake and Mist of Tyrannicide. They're not bad dungeons. They're not. I mean, they're whatever.
So this is very interesting because out of all of the Shadowlands dungeons, these are the least I liked.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Well, I can probably give
me Sanguine Depths, baby. Give me that Sanguine Depths all day long.
I love Sanguine Depths, but we're like the only 2 people in the world that love Sanguine Depths. Because with Sanguine,
for real, the other side, that would have been a cool addition. I love that dungeon. I love that.
Like I would be excited for Grim Batol because it's a dungeon that we've never played on Mythic Plus.
I remember that from Cataclysm, although my memory from then could not be matched with what it could be as a Mythic Plus dungeon. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot.
I remember it being very difficult on Heroic at the very least. We don't know how that translates, but I think we can all say that the majority of this dungeon was never a Mythic Plus dungeon, but we're making it Mythic Plus now, have been really good. I'm like, however difficult they were and undertuned they were at least interesting. Like we've just recently had
the Cataclysm one. We had
the Vajir one that just always pops into my mind.
Yeah. Throne of the Tides.
Throne of the Tides.
We had the Vortex Pinnacle as well.
Either they were shit or good. They were like one of the most memorable ones.
It makes an interesting return, like to savor some old content, right? Make old content. This is a neat way to make old content relevant again, which I dig. Now, Grim Batol, you're talking about you remembering it being difficult. Listen, all of the heroic dungeons in Cataclysm were like giga difficult like at the beginning because that was a big topic of contention back then. So Grim Batol specifically could be a big issue, but I don't see it being as much of a problem as Siege of Borealis. And I didn't mind Siege of Borealis. I know we died a lot in Siege of Borealis.
We didn't play it at the highest of levels, but who cares? Who does? Yeah. Like, players do.
We died a lot on that dungeon.
But Siege of Borealis does have some very specific mechanics that if you don't know, well, you're gonna fail.
Pain will teach you. Let me tell you, pain will teach you.
The best teacher.
Yes, one of the best there is. Necrotic Wake. So this is one of the dungeons from Shadowlands that, like, aesthetically, it always gave me like mixed feelings because on one hand you had like the Bastion themed all around, but then it's all of that green goo all over the place. It didn't really vibe with me. Like, this is personal and really biased. Okay, so don't take my for it. I'm just saying, like, from my point of view, I never liked doing that dungeon. Plus, I feel like there was a big issue. Like, we always had problems with pulling mobs we didn't really want to pull. Like when we crossed the first part.
There were some skip issues, sure.
Yeah.
That might, I mean, we've seen all the dungeons that we've had in Mythic Plus get slightly changed as well in how the mechanics work and some boss mechanics.
Yeah.
I will meet you halfway there and say that Necrotic Wake was maybe a fun dungeon as a tank because it had some more interesting tank mechanics and how you pulled as a tank, but as a DPS was horrible. Last boss is, dog shit if you have to get sent down during your cooldowns.
I didn't like. Yeah, okay, now I remember.
And there's also another problem with Necrotic Wake that we haven't talked yet about is that you used to use your Kyrian dude to activate the golems to give you the buffs. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Are we still gonna have that
it's
mechanic?
It's probably gonna be automated or something like that.
Yeah, it's probably everybody's gonna have it, or they're gonna completely take it out. Mist of Tyrannicide is one of those dungeons where you need a weak aura to do, and that was not fun. And I remember the butterfly annoying pixie dude being the most difficult boss on both tyrannical and fortified.
Yeah, it was a pain.
It was just terrible.
aesthetically, Mist of Thinner Side was quite
Blue.
okay. It was quite. It was for me. It
blue.
was better because you had like the whole druidy,
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, up going to the last boss, you had some like gnarly
Yeah.
pulls, and that felt really fun.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But the biggest issue we have with Mist of Thinner Side coming to the rotation is the labyrinth thingy, and the fact that like whenever you need a weak aura for a dungeon, and I'm not saying abilities on mobs or notifying you to cast something. No. This is to actually get in, pass through, and progress to the dungeon. That's just where I'm hoping maybe they'll just remove that. And did you find that fun? Because it was just an annoyance.
The fun part about it is being able to figure it out without the weak aura, but that's such a subjective and specific thing. Not everybody processes information the same way, and that doesn't make you bad or good at the game. That just makes your brain better to do those puzzles. And I don't think those puzzles have to exist in a content that's timed, and especially that it doesn't give you choices to speed up. Let's say, give me a labyrinth that maybe takes longer for my party to do, but make me able to pull 3 packs instead of 2, so that I can speed up and make up some time that way. It was very restrictive in how you used to pull, and I'm not a fan of that. It's just pack after pack after pack, instead of actually giving me options to choose how I end up pulling. And I mean, we've talked about everybody loves big pulls.
Yeah, everybody likes big pulls, and big cannot say it on stream. Siege of Borealis will be, oh boy, making a return. And listen, for all its faults, I think BFA had some cool ass dungeons.
Oh, they were really good.
I feel like so. I don't know if it's the fact that like most of them were grounded into a much more reality, fantasy, and the ones from Shadowlands were a bit too much because of the Shadowlands realm or whatever. But I always feel like whenever you have a dungeon where you have cannons and human NPCs and stuff like that, it's like for the majority, because you're gonna have monsters and stuff. I know
it's nice to have them every on it.
Yeah, but overall, Siege of Borealis was for us, and I know not everybody like will agree with this, but it was an okay dungeon. It had bugs, and the mechanics of the dungeon, I don't know how. For one thing, if the bugs, which was this? What was the most annoying bug? Was it the one with the guy shooting through the walls?
But that was Tol Dagor mostly.
Oh, that was Tol Dagor.
Yeah.
Never mind.
The thing is with Siege of Borealis is that we used to do it with different seasons and with different seasonal affixes, and it was tuned for those affixes at the time. So there's a very good chance that once we're having it here, it's going to be slightly different than the one that we've played in BFA.
But the mechanics will still going to be.
Yeah, because we still have the last boss. I mean, I don't know how that's going to be tuned, because the last boss was very responsibility specific.
Was the last boss the big
tentacle?
The big tentacle.
Yeah, and
right. Okay.
So you have to go in and shoot the tentacles.
Yeah,
and you needed a person that was able to do that, and then you would have the bombs hop on the tentacles. It was a whole thing.
But when it starts, this was the one where you would go outside, and you also have the banana, the
monkeys.
The monkeys
you
thing.
Had those two.
Those
and
were
the big
annoying
giants
facts
that just slapped around.
Yeah,
like
the big giants. Okay, yeah. So it's not that difficult, but you can for sure see a big problem on Tyrannical. This is so the last boss is like ridiculously hard, and if the changes to it, because I'm sure they're not going to remove mechanics from it. I see that the mechanics will work.
That's the thing, right? Because they did for some of the dungeons that they brought back. So we'll see, because they were like Siege of Borealis was made for the M+ version of the game at the time.
Yes.
So we're gonna have, and also we can smash these dungeons or like wail on them however much we want, but we do have to admit the fact that they're better at doing Mythic Plus now. They've had like 2 expansions worth of experience to kind of improve mechanics and improve affixes and how mobs affect different things.
For the most part, I think like the dungeons that they brought back in the end turned out to be good. There was still ongoing tuning, and there was still changes during seasons, because at launch not all of them have made it through. But I do have to give them like the benefit of that. So I know everybody's going to be pissed off about Siege of Borealis, and I understand that. We're not really that concerned about it, to be honest. I would say like the biggest issue. So let me ask you. I don't remember the name. The dungeon that was with the cart and the light. That's not coming in this season. From the
current expansion. From the current
expansion.
That's Dark Flame.
Yeah. Okay. So it's going to be an interesting time when that will make it in the.
Whenever they make
season.
Non-friendly Mythic Plus mechanics in a dungeon, it makes it for an interesting transition from an M0 to an M+. They usually either trivialize it, or they just arbitrarily extend the timer of the dungeon, because If you've seen any of the dungeons that we currently have in the World Within, you know that with the card one, you have to collect candles outside to kind of put the light in the card. And that's a very arbitrary time investment mechanic that you have. It's not like, oh, you have 10 seconds to kill this pack. No, we don't know who goes in, if you fall into the pit, if you can see how much light you need, like all of that stuff. Like, we're probably going to go into this once Season 2 comes out. But until then...
So, okay, overall... Thoughts on the dungeon pool?
It's fine. I'm a big fan of new dungeons. I'm not excited about Shadowlands dungeons. Not that they're bad, but I mean we've played them for 2 years.
Listen,
painfully.
You have to admit the Shadowlands PTSD, man. It's there.
There's also that emotion attached to it. Like I'm fine for Siege of Brawlers. I'm more excited for more BFA dungeons.
No, but what I'm trying to like point out, they could have brought in like other dungeons from Shadowlands for the first season, because you want this expansion to start off with a bang. You want the bang. You want like the absolute
should have
best.
gotten the best. Like, I don't know.
But okay.
Halls of Atonement.
Halls of Atonement. That's
big
okay.
pools.
It's big. Yeah, I love that because of the big pools. Problems there as well, but we're not gonna mention Sanguine Depths, although we love Sanguine Depths. But the other side should have made it in. I think we can all agree
that's a good dungeon design where it gives you options to where you want to go and what order you want the bosses to be. They don't usually make dungeons where you choose. I mean, Atal Dazar was a dungeon where you chose what bosses
I
you
was
wanted
so
to
happy
do.
when they brought that in.
Yeah, those are always fun. So hopefully, they keep this in mind for future dungeons.
Yeah, well, I don't think so. In terms of feedback, what we're saying here, they're not going to change the dungeon pool.
Not yet.
No. But in terms of those affixes, please provide the feedback as much as you can. So I guess we give it a pass for this pool. We're not that excited for the pool. We're excited for the new dungeons, but the returning ones could have been better, at least for the Shadowlands ones. All right, Mr. Survival Hunter.
Oh, we're going there?
Well, we can there's a lot. I know you played today on stream a lot of it, and I know you have your opinions. I mained Survival Hunter in BFA in both our heroic rating and in PvP a lot. I actually picked Survival because it's really good in PvP in arenas. And then, that's a different story. But Survival has gotten its rework, and we will talk about it today. Because I think
it's a hot topic, and it's good. Okay, so do you want to go in, and I'll just elaborate on?
Let's see, because there's probably a lot to cover here. So Mastery. Okay, the Mastery has been Spirit Bond has been redesigned. You and your pet deal increased damage and take 3% reduced damage, increased by 100% when within 25 yards of each other.
So it's basically 6% damage reduction passively across the board, which is only fitting because you're a survival.
You're a survival. Yeah, this was always the thing, right? Like makes sense for a survival hunter to survive.
Was historically one of the squishiest specs in the game, which was ironically hilarious.
Yeah.
So the Mastery right now is way better, because the previous Mastery used to buff your damage on focus consumers, which was not equal across the board, considering bombs were not focus consumers, and bombs have been for the longest period of time the biggest source of your damage. And that made it so that Mastery was a dead stat for survival, which was a design flaw, and people have been pointing this out for years. This is a very good change. The actual value of Mastery will always be tuned, so we don't really know. It just increases your entire damage. That's kind of boring, but it's better to be boring and functional than interesting and not used.
I agree. Okay, let's go through the talents, because there's a lot here.
Okay,
so new talent is Sulfur Line Pockets. Every third quick shot is replaced with an explosive shot at 100% effectiveness. You tried this?
Yes.
You see, how does
this is currently bugged, or at least not functioning as intended on the alpha. Well, what this means is that once you reset your kill command a certain amount of time, you get that quick shot where you just launch a passive arcane shot at the target, which is all passive in the background, and every so often that turns into an explosive shot. You don't actually interact with it. What it does is actually force you to use kill commands aggressively or properly. It's the way that the talent design right now is you either pick this talent or Mongoose Bite or Quick Shot or Mongoose Bite, so you're kind of forced into it, considering that you don't really want to use Mongoose Bite in AoE at the moment.
Okay.
It's a good design, but the damage needs to be tuned in a way where it doesn't feel like it's wasted, because the damage right now for Quick Shot is atrocious. And you feel bad about picking this so far.
Okay, so it's a tuning thing.
But it's an upgrade to a boring talent, makes it a little bit more interesting.
Okay, Grenade Juggler, new talent. Wildfire Bomb deals 5% increased damage and has a 25% chance to reset the cooldown of Explosive Shot and reduce its focus cost to 0. Explosive Shot reduces the cooldown of Wildfire Bomb by 4 seconds. It's pretty cool.
This is this is it, man. So if you're going to make, because we've bashed on the bombs.
Yeah,
as well
the
for a
bombs.
long
But
time.
this is actually a great solution for.
This is how you make bombs way more interesting. So just a little side note as you go for this, because you've played survival as well. The wildfire infusion is gone. You don't have the color bombs anymore. You just have standard bombs.
No shit.
Yeah, all of the bombs are just standard bombs. But now you have different interactions with bombs, and this is one of them, and it's one of the most fun ones. Because you have access to explosive shot as Survival Hunter, which was something that was very survival-ish themed for the longest time. People have been asking for it. It's a range ability. You do a lot of damage with it, and you get resets, and you proc these constant, and they synergize with each other. And if you want to go crazy with just bombs, this is how you do it, and you just use bombs a lot, and it switches that fantasy over to that. Way better than what we had.
Much better. I like the synergy between it. It's like, the cooldown reduction and the procs. This is a lot more interesting than making the boring ass. No, the bombs. You have green one, you have blue one, you have red one. Okay, exposed flank, new talent. Your flanking strike exposes a weakness in your enemy's defenses, increasing the damage of kill command by 10% and allowing your kill command to also hit 2 additional enemies for 10 seconds. Kind of a cleave situation here.
On its, the thing is, you have to take these with their synergies, because on their own it doesn't.
Yeah, I know.
Tell you much. So you do have, if you remember, the blood seeker, I believe. When you kill command a target, it applies a bleed on it, and you attack faster. But now you can cleave, then you have multiple bleeds out.
Oh, and the bleed goes out through the.
Yeah, it applies bleeds to everybody that hit. Yeah, so that is actually a nice synergy. And if you really want to go crazy with this, you can target swap and have like 6 bleeds out and have like some. I don't know if they're gonna put a cap on it, but it definitely actually adds some focus to flanking strike, where you're not just pressing it to get the focus back. It actually has synergies, which was what survival has been missing for years.
Agree. Okay, so far so good. I like what I'm seeing. Let's move on to a new talent, Contagious Reagents. Reapplying Serpent Sting spreads it up to 2 nearby enemies. Oh my god, this was like the Serpent Sting situation was like so bad. Let
me paint you a picture how this works, because you have to take it with the talent. So now when you Mongoose Bite or Raptor Strike a target, you'll automatically apply Serpent Sting. That's it.
Oh,
if you hit it again and you would reapply Serpent Sting, then it actually goes to.
Wait a minute. So Serpent Sting has its own. Is it not?
It's no longer an ability. No Hunter
passive?
Spec has it. Yes, it's all passive, and you proc it. You don't have an extra bull button that you have to like.
It's so
spam.
good. Yeah, this is good.
The cool thing about this is you can just go on wail on a target, and it just naturally constantly spreads Serpent Sting out, which was probably what the green bomb used to do, because you don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
And you have another talent that I'll talk about. I think it's actually the next one.
Outland
Venom? Read it out.
Okay. So Outland Venom. Each damage over time effect you have on a target increases the critical strike damage they receive from you by 2%.
You would have about at least three dots. You could probably have more with the harpoon dot, and I don't know if there's more that I'm missing right now.
Each of these gets the 2%?
2% crit damage. You do 2% more crit damage. You can do up to 6% more crit damage.
Right.
And you're going to be heavy into crit, so that 6% damage is just make your crits bigger.
Beautiful.
That's good. But the next one is the one I was actually talking about.
Merciless Blow. Yeah. All right, so this is another new talent. Casting Butchery makes your next Raptor Strike or Mongoose Bite to hit up to 3 nearby targets. Oh my god.
That applies Serpent Sting.
Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, this is so cool. I really dig the fact that they're doing this cleave situation here. Is Carve still a thing? Because I remember using Carve.
You just have Butchery now. It doesn't replace Carve. You just get Butchery easy.
Oh, so no more Carve?
It's simplified, yeah. You just Butchery. Carve is gone.
Butchery. I love Butchery. You love Butchery?
Yeah, we all love the Butcher.
Okay, beautiful. I like this, man. I really like this.
This actually adds, and I've played this today, this actually adds a different style of play style where you have a 3-target cleave scenario where you're actually really good on very small packs. And if you really want to play this in AoE, the way it's most likely intended to work is you hit 3 targets with your Mongoose Bite, you apply those Serpent Stings. And then with the previous talent, if you hit those 3 targets again with Mongoose Bite, then those Serpent Stings get cleaved onto more targets. So it can actually
wait a minute, it's
AoE.
multiplicative like that, so you can go.
It's not working that way in the beta, but I believe that's probably because of a bug. But it sounds like that, because if you hit the 3 targets with your Mongoose Bite again, and they already have Serpent Sting, then
so
that would cleave to
the
6 other targets.
Man, that's so cool.
Then you can just not play bombs if you don't want to, and you can just play this.
Finally, yes.
And then you just have a lot of bleed damage, a lot of dot damage on all of the targets.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
This is exactly kind of what we played, if you remember, in BFA when we had the poison build with the Azurite traits.
Yes.
It's a different poison build, but it's a poison dot build.
That was what you played in Arena as well. Like, playing
so good.
Poison.
So much better.
Let's check out another new talent, Sick'em. I like the name.
Yeah.
Kill shot critical strikes reset the cooldown of kill command. Okay.
Now we're going into some of the issues that survival currently has and why these will probably change by the time it goes out. There's a lot of kill command resets and a lot of resource bloat and a lot of focus overcap. You will end up with the current version of survival, which is probably not going to make it to live. You end up ignoring a lot of your focus if you want to play your big damage abilities, which is, you know, something that we are familiar with specs like Frost Decay that didn't like that, and we know that they've addressed that for Frost Decay. They're likely going to address this for survival as well.
Okay, let's check out the new talent Symbiotic Adrenaline. The cooldown of Coordinated Assault is reduced by 60 seconds. Oh,
this is a capstone for coordinated assault, and it will make it 1 minute.
Oh, this is
And
great. Give it the red paladin treatment, baby.
Coordinate Assault is going to have 2 capstones. One of it is this one, and this is a choice node with another one that you can probably take.
Coordinated Assault, if I'm not mistaken, that was the big cooldown.
Yes.
That was like what you popped. It was your
big
wings.
Basically your wings. Yeah, they're gonna be. You can have a 1 minute damage profile.
I think, man, this
and it matches with almost all of the other.
I like what I'm seeing. Oh my god, my main team.
Wait until you read the other kill command.
Okay,
the other Coordinate Assault.
New talent, Relentless Primal Ferocity. While Coordinated Assault is active, kill command generates 2 stacks of Tip of the Spear. You gain 10% haste, and Tip of the Spear's damage bonus is increased by 50%. Wow, dude.
They've changed. So if you remember, Tip of the Spear was when you kill command a target, you get a buff on the next Raptor Strike.
Yeah.
Now it buffs all of your abilities, not just Raptor Strike, and now it can buff them more if you have a lot of crit. And with this, you get a lot of synergy and like using Tip of the Spear and looping abilities around and consuming these buff procs on different style of abilities depending on what your build is.
I like it. Man,
yeah,
I like
this is the choice node with the 1 minute Coordinate Assault. And
man, why, man, why?
But it's fine because the 1 minute Coordinate Assault is gonna go better with the next. The next one? No, it's where is it?
Oh wait, we had the Tip of the Spear design. You just mentioned that. Kill command increases damage of your next non-pet spell by 50%, stacking up 3 times. Okay, so this goes to 45%. You can now summon 1 stack of Tip of the Spear at a time, and multiple stacks of Tip of the Spear no longer increase its damage bonus. Okay. Let's see. Flanking Strike now gains double the damage bonus from Tip of the Spear. Okay.
So you can buff Flanking Strike and it will hit. It will hit very hard.
Did you look on details? Like, did you try this and check on details? How much?
It does quite a bit of damage. It's all relative at this point because the damage is really crazy with some builds and a little bit lackluster with others.
All right. Spearhead has been redesigned. You and your pet charge your enemy target, applying a heavy bleed that increases your chance to critically strike them by 30% for 10 seconds. I like the critical strike.
This gives you 30% crit.
Yeah, basically. But is this like what's the cooldown on this? Spearhead.
Oh, I cannot remember. It was like either a minute or a minute and a half, or at the most 2 minutes. It was a shorter cooldown. You've used it, I believe, in the first season of Dragonflight. It was a problem with the Dragonflight design is because you never wanted to use it at the same time as Coordinate Assault because they would conflict with each other in terms of like how they function. Now, this just gives you 30% crit chance, which is crazy. It's on the same path with all of the other dot crits that you read before the crit damage.
I can see the synergy.
You constantly stack up these dots and you get like, it's crit fiesta. That's basically what this build is.
Oh, I'm liking it. Okay, Deadly Duo has been redesigned. The cooldown of Spearhead is reduced by 30 seconds. Okay, so it must be 1 minute. And I think this talent, so reduced by 30 seconds and increases your crit strike damage against the target by 30% for 10 seconds. So wait a minute.
This is probably what buffs it. I think there's some issues with the tooltip.
Yeah, probably. But I was asking about the cooldown of Spearhead because I was thinking about, the alignment with a 1 minute Coordinated Assault and Spearhead, having that all of that lined up beautifully. So if this is if the Deadly Duo thing puts Spearhead at 1 minute and you also have Coordinated Assault at 1 minute, I think that's pretty cool. That could look for some synergies. Okay. What next? Viper's Venom has been redesigned. Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite apply suppressing. We talked about that. Yeah. Aspect of the Eagle has been redesigned. Increases the range of your Raptor Strike and Mastery Response to 40 yards for 15 seconds. Okay. Finally, you can get that range.
Yes,
like bigger range.
It was very similar to how it was before. It's just now a different point in the talent tree. We can talk about this as well.
You're here. You're back. You're in the back of the room. Was it always 40 yards? Because I feel whenever back in the day when I pop Aspect of the Eagle,
it was at least 30 yards, but it would never really matter because you're never 40 yards away from your target. That's hardly ever a thing.
You will give it because in raid situations you might be there. Okay, Bombardier has been redesigned. Casting Coordinated Assault grants 2 charges of Wildfire Bomb. Okay, so now we can see the bombs coming in again.
Yeah.
When Coordinated Assault ends, Explosive Shot has no cooldown and costs 0 focus for 4 seconds. Oh, that's so cool, man.
When Coordinated Assault ends, you just press Explosive Shot 4 times back to back. Or if you have more haste, you can probably spend it 5 times. And when you hit a target with explosive shot that already has an explosive shot, it detonates the first one and applies the second one.
God,
so it's explosion
crazy.
after explosion after explosion. This is the cool part. This is what I talk about.
It.
And you have this every minute if you play the 1 minute coordinate assault.
This is beautiful. This is beautiful, man. Holy shit.
It's a whole different world.
Ruthless Marauder has been redesigned. Wildfire Bomb cooldown reduction effect is now 1 second by default and no longer is increased by the second talent point.
This was the capstone upgrade for Fury of the Eagle.
I don't know that.
Eagle thing.
Okay,
it's fine. It's not a big deal.
Okay, let's scroll a bit and see. Coordinate Assault has been updated. Now also allows kill shot to be usable on targets regardless of health.
That's
Beautiful.
basically your execute.
Beautiful, yeah, kill shot. Okay. Wildfire Infusion has been redesigned. Mongoose Bite and Raptor Strike have a 15% chance to reset kill command's cooldown. Kill commander, this is the cool. You talked about this in the beginning, right? Kill commander,
it's
this is the
basically
cooldown.
instead of the color bombs, you have this,
Yes.
and then they just function with each other and just constantly reduce each other's cooldown.
Okay, Kill Command and Alpha Predator are now survival talents. Okay, this they moved this to
From the class tree.
Yeah, they moved this to the pretty good actually, because I feel like proper building up its survival identity. Wildfire Bomb's damage over time effect is now a rolling periodic.
This means that the wildfire bomb leaves a fire dot, and if you apply the new one, it doesn't override the first one. They tick individually.
Oh.
Or they stack individually. You don't lose damage by casting back.
All right, so it doesn't replace it; it just adds.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's good.
That's very
cool.
good. It's looking for damage.
Grenade Juggler and Bombardier now use an activation overlay. Right,
they just probably show like a flashy thing on your UI.
Many 2-point talents are now 1 point. I guess you went
that's
through
a big
yeah, because I remember when we talked about Hunter problems.
We had a lot of like this does 5% more damage and does 10% if you put 2 points in. That was that kind of stuff.
That's always a good thing for a lot of like we've seen this on reworks 100 million times. Like whenever you do like drop down, so it makes sense for 2-pointers to be there here and there. Like if you like want to have some
kind of like limits on as to how many capstones or very strong talents you have access to. That's fair.
But yeah, for the most part. And we have the following talents being removed: Carve, Okay, Coordinated Kill, Birds of Prey, Intense Focus, and Sharp Pages. Do we miss any of these? Is this something
that's fine. The thing is, the design of Hunter is actually a design right now. They actually know what they're doing instead of just having everything spread out. This is where you do your bombs. This is where you do your dots. And this is like a combination that makes either of these two stronger depending on which way you go. This is something that we've been missing for at least 4 years where it was just bombs. And now even if you do go bombs, you have explosive shots, which was, I believe it was a survival Hunter ability for the longest time before they reworked survival into a melee range. Explosive shot, if I recall. Now it's just a general talent tree, but this all just makes survival into an actual spec that actually feels like a WoW spec. There are some issues to iron out with the resource bloat and the proc bloat and all of that stuff, but those are essentially good problems to have. And we've seen those happen for other specs that they eventually ironed out. Yeah. So it's good.
It's not, I wouldn't say it's not at the mage level of rework or even the Unholy.
No, not yet. It's not in its final form.
It's really good, and it really got me excited for what I've seen here. And as a former survival mage for a long time ago, I'm quite excited. I'm not ready to drop my Unholy DK just yet.
Probably not, but now, see, the difference between now and the Dragonflight is if you go into the survival tree, you read the talents that are like, oh, this is where I want to go, as opposed to right now where you're like, well, is this good? I don't know. I have to sim it, right?
Yeah, true. So we're giving this a pass, right?
Oh, it's a big pass. This finally.
I mean, in terms of like the whole spectrum of Hunter reworks, I think survival takes the number.
Survival is currently the best one, yes.
Number one position here, right? We're not covering BM and Marksman. Not this. Maybe we're gonna make like individual produced videos for those. But I feel like this was such a big expected redesigned.
I could hear the survival community going.
I think, yeah. So who knows? Now, again, this is not being in the final form. There's still changes to be made here. But year of the Spear, I think
it's coming back.
Will become a reality for sure if they keep onto their guns and take in the feedback. I'm probably sure that a lot of feedback is going through their way from the True Shot Discord and forums and all of that.
Yeah, we're
if
gonna
they
have
take
a
that
lot
in.
of info coming in for Hunter for sure.
Okay, so you want to go into chat now a little bit?
Sure.
Do we have
So
something there?
These are kind of like the major things happened. If you guys have any questions or anything like a Q&A stuff, we can go into it right now.
Q&A. Let's check out the chat.
And see what you guys' opinions are.
Did anybody say something? Let's
We've
check out
had
the
a
chat.
bunch of stuff. I couldn't follow everything up until now, but we've answered a bunch of stuff when it comes to the Mythic Plus. I saw you guys there, and we've addressed some of the things. Most of the other stuff that happened this week was related to tuning for specs, to adjusting some hero talents, and we're probably going to see more of that later, considering that today, as probably like 30 minutes ago, M Plus and mostly M Plus has been released, and raids are probably going to be up soon if they haven't done so already. We're going to see how everything shapes up. It's still 2 months, and it feels a little bit close, but
I don't know why they went to this August release. I feel like if they would have given at least one more month, they could have like done a lot more. Because I feel we're gonna go into the launch of this, and not all specs are gonna be happy.
Yeah, unfortunately, even with Hunter and even with the Hunter rework, the hero talents are still very lackluster, and you could tell that, and that's like a big downside. Same with Monk as well, which is a shame.
Yeah. It's a big hit and miss for some of the specs. And as much as we know that War Within is building up to be like very positively received, if they would have had at least one more month, a lot of the things would have gotten improved. Because what's the big selling point for this expansion? What's the big feature of this expansion?
It has to be the New Earthen race. It has to be the delves. It has to be the hero talents. Basically.
Hero talents. I think the hero talents would be like the major feature. However, when you look at like the marketing of the War Within, you wouldn't see that too much, because they put on the story. They you feel like they're really banging the buck on the story in the world.
They're selling the shit out of Zalatat, that's for sure.
Man, Zalatat is fucking cool, man. I mean, how
it's
they market.
When was the last time we've had a good villain?
What do you mean, man? Blue Nipple Boy? Didn't you like him?
Yeah, that bare-chested bald dude.
The Jailer was the best villain this game has ever produced, and we stand by that statement.
Yeah, Chad actually has a really good point, and this kind of sucks. Rogues are actually big L's for the hero talents.
I was thinking about them when I was telling this, because if they would have had at least one more month, Rogues, I think at least from the hero talents, sure, but Assassination, I think, is like the biggest loser out of all of the rogue specs. And
Assassination has Fatebound and
but no, just spec talents. Spec talents in individually. I think Assassination is due for something.
They had some things changed for Assassination. It depends on how it works, because I think the issue with Assassination is after playing it for a main, and I could be wrong here, but it was mostly a tuning issue, because they did fix a lot of the problems that Assassination had with damage profile. Caustic Spatter, for instance, was a really cool way to do AoE damage.
I love the rework, but it feels like now moving into War Within, there's a lot of problems, and I don't. So we talked about this in terms of like the hero talents for rogues. You like the fate bound shit. You like all of that.
I like the concept of just going full RNG. Just I don't care anymore. No balance. Just can this be crazier?
One
just
spec to be without balance and with nothing.
But the thing is, what they did really well with rogues that I particularly appreciate is that they took Shadow Dance out of the other two specs. Only sub has it now. And instead they gave all rogue specs 2 charges of Vanish, which kind of functions similarly to what Shadow Dance does in terms of giving them access to stealth abilities.
Yeah.
For instance, for Assassination Enabling Indiscriminate Carnage. And it kind of felt like they've bridged the gap between Outlaw and the other 2 specs, where Outlaw just had the best of all of the worlds with Restless Blades.
Outlaw was the clear winner, man.
For sure. But now it feels like
benefiteur.
It doesn't feel as bad to not play Outlaw now. That's what they changed with the talents for rogues. But the hero talents just doesn't do anything whatsoever.
I'm sorry. It's like
shamans.
Yeah. Again, I'm not like, well, I've asked you this a million times. Is there a real need for Shaman rework?
After seeing the Hunter rework, I have to say yes more than I say no. I feel like Shamans function well, and they've had a better version of the talents than most other specs, but trying to build a Fire Mage and trying to build a Survival Hunter now feels way better than it is to build a Shaman. Like, if I go into Elemental Enhancement, it's once again not clear exactly what I want, and I think that's probably the biggest issue. We could probably go into pathing issues, into tuning issues, into capstones not being equal across the board, sure, but at the end of the day, if you hop on an enhancement right now, it's like, dude, I just want to play enhancement, and you go, it's like, And if you don't watch a guide or anything, you probably won't know how to build
But
it.
that's, dude, come on, that's like available for all specs basically. Because like what?
Well, that's the thing, because if you play like Fire Mage and you want Phoenix Flames, it's clear what you want to do for Phoenix Flames. You can see, oh, this makes
Wait,
it
you're
better.
talking about War Within?
Yeah, War Within.
War Within.
If you play,
okay,
if
yeah.
you're playing War Within, because Shaman still hasn't gotten a rework. So with that argument, I can definitely see, okay, give Shamans a rework.
But I don't understand. So when we got the new Shaman talents and whatever with Dragonflight and stuff, and then we moved on 10-1, 10-2, I felt like Shamans were pretty happy, especially enhancement. What happened?
The bars were raised, man. The bars were like, oh, so it can be this good? Well, that's my opinion, right? Because if we're talking about functional, it felt like both Elemental and Enhancement, but mostly Elemental, had access to a lot of the talents throughout Dragonflight. You would play the Lightning build, you would play the Fire build, and now people have played, unfortunately, they have played the Lava Burst build for 2 seasons in a row, and that's probably the issue, because the Lava Burst here said that you have now on live and that you had in the previous season, it was the same one, and it was dumbing down, it's like pressing only final verdict for Red Paladin and nothing else. That's basically the Lava Burst build for
I know.
single target. So that's the general way of playing Elemental. That's not the real way. And I've told you guys, once you lose the tier set, that's gonna go away and you're gonna go back to it.
Yeah, because I know some people were excited about the Elemental Shaman being super easy to play, and that was surprising to me because I always knew that Elemental Shaman was like one of the giga brainy specs to pull off.
And it kind of still is. Now that you're losing the tier set and it doesn't just narrow down the talent that you need to pick, you're still going to go into like multiple buff juggling and plate spinning and proc usage and that stuff. That's still probably going to be the thing unless they change how, they rework it.
All right, what other specs are the lovely chat saying? Do we have any other specs chat are concerned
Well, they're asking if what is more fun, Enhanced Destro Warlock or Shadow Priest. Now, you've played Shadow Priest or you've played with the...
I played with it. Well, it's very subjective because I haven't played Warlock like in ever, so I'm not going to be able to answer that.
I have
but
played
Shadow Priest,
the new Shadow Priest, which with the Void Weaver, like you don't
just
know,
for the visuals, and you want to go there because it's amazing.
I think Void Weaver is also for discipline.
Yes, it is.
But what is discipline get? Because Shadow Priest you can cast Void Turn while moving.
I
Do you have something like that for discipline?
I don't know. I don't believe so. Or maybe it is something. Cannot remember. I told you I came to heal. I didn't look at anything. I just saw the visuals.
That's the thing. Because if you would have had Penance, a cast charge that you had to sit still to cast it, and now you can cast it while moving. That's basically what Void Turn does for Shadow Priest.
Oh yeah, I can see that being super awesome for it. No, the thing with the Void Weaver is like the team is really cool and it's really really fun to play. Like overall, like it's very subjective. Not all people care about the visuals, but if you give me something that's really impactful.
Like a black hole.
Like a black hole, exactly. I might just go for that regardless. So we're not that much. I don't think we ever were meta slaves in that sense. Like, yeah, we do like to play properly.
I think it just so happened that we ended up into a meta spec without realizing.
Sometimes we ended up, yeah, because like remember back in Shadowlands when I wanted to play Rogue because there was the legendary dagger from Sylvanas, which I never got, by the way.
Yeah.
And I never believed that she could have been meta, and then it became a meta spec that sub Rogue back then. And was that the time you played Survival? I believe in Sanctum.
Yes, I was a main survival hunter, and it was just before it got meta.
Yeah, and you played it so much, and then
it was so good because you had build diversity.
Yeah. So we never. This is the thing, right? When we get questions like these, it's like we usually have different metrics when picking up things to play and
it has to be good decently because we're mythic raiders, right? It cannot be like bottom of the barrel, which was why I swapped from Balance Druid, because Balance Druid, like even if I started to get better and better week by week, there was only so good I could actually perform as a Balance Druid, and it didn't feel that great.
Yeah, at some point, if you are part of a mythic team or you want to help your guild push progress or whatever, you have to take that into account as well. I believe we touched on this on some of our how to pick a main videos, stuff like that. It's like there is this consideration, like if you're not part of a pushing guild or whatever, then yeah, you don't really care. But if the choice you made is like dragging down the team, which was what happened to me when I decided to play Discipline Priest, I had a very hard time in the raid because I played Discipline Priest all my life in dungeons, never really played it in raids. And once I got to raid, it felt such a different world and so many things to do and juggle. It's like I didn't really feel comfortable, so I had to switch. Right? Yeah. And I feel like I keep dragging the guild down. So it's another factor to take in mind, like when we're taking up women. But when it comes to DPS, I think like even like at least for our guilds, like play what you.
And I think that's the right way.
You're good at.
Whatever, if it's fun, you're more likely to be better with it and more likely to enjoy actually improving with it.
Yeah, we always said this. Like, if you enjoy a spec, you'll probably do better than a meta slave, because you're gonna, if you enjoy it and you really love it, you're gonna go through it and understand what's underneath the hood and how it functions, how it works, and probably gonna optimize the shit out of it because you love it so much, as opposed to, oh my god, my meta spec is scaring me all the way, and you take all the frontals and you don't do any of the mechanics.
We
and
know you're there.
Yeah,
We've
we know.
seen you play.
We see. Yeah. We're looking at you. You know. So yeah, it's a different way, and I think it's this so subjective when talking about, you know, which is fun for you. Very subjective.
Blood Ronin actually has a good point here. Fury Warrior has me concerned, and that just reminded me Fury Warrior is actually in a much more needed rework than enhancement, because Fury Warrior has been changed slightly, and the tier set is not looking good, considering that Bloodthirst is gonna buff your Rampage. And Fury Warrior has had some issues that were present in the Dragonfly that probably a lot of people didn't notice, because your tier set just made you move around those issues.
Yeah.
Like, I think a Fury Warrior is losing Annihilator, which was replacing Raging Blow with auto attacks that made Bloodthirst builds actually good, which was what we played in Aberrus, and I think you're playing it now. And Odin's Fury was essentially kind of bad the entire time, and you only played it because you got a tier set, so those issues didn't seem
We're
to
so
be
excited for Odin's Fury, man.
to be addressed. Yes, and you've played the Fury, and
didn't
you were
like it.
ecstatic about
No,
it.
I didn't like it at all. No, I didn't like it at all.
And
Because
it
I
doesn't
used
feel
to
like
love Fury, but
it's getting Blazestorm now with the Slayer talent.
But also
and it's-
the Mountain Tame is it Mountain Tame for Fury, where we
Yes.
also have Thunderclap with
yes,
Fury.
that's like the only saving grace for Fury players. If you actually are interested in playing Fury in the war within Mountain Thane, it's just fun because it's simple. It's not It's not the most amazing hero talent, but what it does do that just swaps your brain around in a good way is that Thunderclap now gets the same benefits as Whirlwind does, so you can use Thunderclap to activate your AoE. And that's a different thing
cool.
to do.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I like that. So yeah, again to the point. So we have like, okay, shamans need the rework, rogues need the rework. Now we have Fury who needs the
Warrior
rework.
2. I've spoken actually earlier today with Moai on Protection Warrior, because we've played Warrior for last week on stream for the tank video. And it's super strong. It's giga tanky, does a lot of damage. But the thing with Warrior is you play it the exact same way as you do it now. You change almost no talents.
I feel some people actually like that. I know
Yeah,
people don't. So I know there's a crowd out there who like just doesn't want any changes.
They don't want to like update their builds for each individual boss and things like that.
But here's the thing. That's the old way. That's what vanilla is for, or the classic. I feel WoW has become, and that's that I feel, it has become the seasonal game. It's basically we have seasons of the game.
Yeah.
It's become seasonal based, and this is why you have lots of changes. This is why some of the tier sets you'll get in season X or Y will change your gameplay. You have like reworks during the expansion, like we had for Reds, we had for Rogues and stuff. Because it has become, the modern game has become such a seasonal game that you have to expect changes, and you come to expect changes. It's kind of no longer
expansion by expansion, but it's mostly season by season.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the expansion just provides like the big overarching playground for you, but then seasons is where it's at, because there you're gonna have like a lot of changes that will eventually impact your gameplay, like your specs gameplay. And this is how the beast has transformed. Like if you're gonna,
it does it well. I mean, we've played other RPGs and other MMOs. Like one thing that WoW still does better, and I don't think people give it credit for it, is combat. And how
the best.
The combat feels. This is one of like we were story lovers and we've hated the story for years. We still played it because it was fun. We've played it in BFA when everybody was hating on it. We've played it in Shadowlands. It's not just because we do cons. It was actually fun to play.
We made videos on this as well. Why do we still play WoW? Well, you play WoW because you have YouTube and this is what pays the bills and shit. Dude, yeah, that's part of it. We're not gonna be hypocrites, right? It's part of it.
That doesn't help us play WoW outside of the content.
Listen, we could have jumped ship to Final Fantasy. I remember a lot of the content creators back then just dropped WoW because of the scandal or whatever and jumped to Final Fantasy. How many of them play Final Fantasy right now? I'm not naming names. I love everybody. Don't get me wrong, but I was so proud of us, like sticking up for the shithole that was Quartia patch in Shadowlands, and still made content, and still made guides, and still made tier lists and all of that. We still done that, even though it was shit. Like the amount of views we got, like the game was so unpopular back then, and we could have made that switch.
So bad.
That was the Final Fantasy moment when everybody switched to Final Fantasy, and all the big names you love mostly switched to Final Fantasy, and here and there they made a video complaining about WoW. Okay, so I take big pride in us.
And all of that is for the payoff that is War Within. And we've had somebody in chat today that made a big mistake, but it felt so genuine. There was a person that asked, so how is this WoW 2.0 better than the WoW or something about that? It's like
WoW 2.0?
Wait a minute, it's not WoW 2.0, but it's as close to WoW 2.0 as Modern WoW can be with all of the changes. Because there was a Warband question, and because they looked at the character screen, everybody's like in a little campfire, and you have hero talents now. And if you haven't played Dragonflight, you actually have talent design right now. All of the cool new things happening, and it feels
2.0.
It feels like if you play Shadowlands and you hop from Shadowlands to War Within, it's a different game.
Yeah, totally different game for sure. Yeah, I mean the concept of a WoW 2 is an interesting one to explore here. I think we can close it off with this one. Okay, so WoW 2.0. There's on one hand, we can talk about the fact that we have been being part of the transformation or the development process
seen it
of
firsthand,
2.0.
like the first row.
Yeah, we've seen it. I believe like for quite a while now. That being said, you have to go back to the cinematic, the last cinematic where we got the announcement for the release date, where Xalothat says, all the heroes, it's all blah, blah, blah. It's basically some Morlock language there. No, but you get the cinematic where it starts off with all of the previous cinematics, and it all kind of concludes into, and I quote this, the final battle. Now, for me, this sounds like the final battle. This is not, I don't think it's referring to the War Within as the final battle.
World Soul Saga, most likely.
Yeah, the World Soul Saga is the final battle. And I know a lot of people speculated about this in the whole different avenues and capacities, but I feel like now with the cinematic, with the fact that she says that after all of this, starting from Vanilla to, Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Mist of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, Legion, Battle for Azeroth, Shadowlands, it's basically in that cinematic, they throw all of these at you with the conclusion that, with the final battle. I don't think we ever heard in WoW something in regards to the final battle. We heard a lot of statements, a lot of, different wordings on things, but the final battle.
The closest we would have probably gotten was Legion with the fight against the Burning Legion, right?
Yeah, but even that wasn't phrased as the final battle.
We knew there was always more to that. There was always something voidy outside
they always,
there.
Well, there always had to be something out there.
Yeah, and
but
it's clear,
now,
even with the last expansion that we're gonna have, the last Titan.
Yeah, even that kind of tells you something.
Yeah,
what do you mean? What was this? So they said that they want to develop the future of World of Warcraft for the next 20 years in this capacity. It's like, okay, you're going to have a saga that will close off, and very much like in the Star Wars universe and stuff, they reference that quite a bit. So what does that mean? So you have this final battle, which is being told. We have the last Titan, a lot of final.
Well, that's the thing, because if you ask anybody that either has a lot of lore knowledge or very little lore knowledge, like who's the biggest, what's the pinnacle of WoW?
Where does the game end?
It would have to be like Titans or Void stuff. Xaloteth is the Void stuff. Last Titan is or Azeroth, or I don't know. There's speculations that Azeroth may be not the Titan, but it's clearly like the Titans versus the Void. That would probably be what would be considered the last battle. So where do you go from there?
That's the
next saga. That's the next WoW 2.0.
Okay, because this is a big undertaking. This is a big subject to look at, because WoW 2.0, again, you have the side where we've kind of been living in the development of WoW 2.0. If you go back from Legion, BFA, Shadowlands,
Bobby era of WoW.
Yeah, the Bobby era. We kind of been part of this transformation where we kind of are in WoW 2.0 at the moment. However, when you end the World Soul Saga, and with everything that we talked about so far, is that the other avenue of thinking, that the other train thought, could that potentially mean that during the 3 expansions we're gonna get, there's gonna be some sort of like back end work slowly but sure, because we're talking almost 5-6 years here. Basically, the amount of time it took to develop WoW. So, is it something in their plans where they're having like a small team at first working on something that would conclude the World's Old Saga and basically transform that into a brand new game? Is that like, or is that something too far-fetched?
That's a good, no, I don't think so. That's a good question. So here's how I see it. And we've known this as well, because people tend to not really see the whole big picture when they criticize a lot of the things, or when they receive the information. Think about where we were in Shadowlands. Not oh my god, it was a shit expansion, but design-wise, what the specs were, what the raids were, what the Mythic Plus were. Think of what happened over the last couple of years and where we are now in the War Within, with, I don't know, a team that's 5 times bigger. It's working on 3 expansions at a time. It gets reworks done on a week-by-week basis for multiple specs at a time.
True.
It changes whole affixes within 1 week. It adds new talents. It adds, what, 39 new talents, the hero talents, which is, 39 times 10, that's 390 new talent points for all of the classes, all in one expansion. Delves, new story, new races, new zones. Like, okay, it's a lot of stuff happening, and starting from 925 when we got the Zeroth Mortis one, was like, oh, finally, like this is like a brand new version of Shadowlands, to new whole hero talent reworks, to back-to-back class reworks throughout Dragonflight, to Mythic Plus being changed drastically and losing the seasonal affixes, losing affixes, to now going into an expansion like that. If you put a graph as to how WoW has evolved from Shadowlands and BFA, where it's like this, and then it keeps going like this with Dragonflight, and if it keeps this track, who knows where we will be by the end of the War Within. It has to be like a whole new version of World of Warcraft.
Yeah, it's no secret that they have a lot more folks working on the team, but there's also a lot of attrition there. So we know that a lot of people leave the company. Unfortunately, a lot of talented and like senior people leave the company, and
That's
sometimes that can reflect in things you see within the game. But the reality remains, right now they have a much bigger team working on everything. So like, even like you mentioned all of that, not top it off with map remix, Plunderstorm,
for sure.
All of those things like wouldn't be possible in the BFA era or in the Shadowlands era.
We've had more content in like the one season cycle of Dragonflight than in an entire expansion before.
Like, think about like Warcraft content, not just like retail modern world. Okay, so there's a lot of focus there. Not to mention that John Hyde has like stated in that IGN interview that they're looking at this for the next 20 years. So they want to like establish the Warcraft franchise, not World of Warcraft, the Warcraft franchise as something as big as I've said, Star Wars or something like that. That is, okay, very ambitious. That's a video game.
That's a very bold statement to say when they have been very reluctant in saying anything publicly.
Well, that was the Blizzard modus operandi for
the Activision era. And you have to understand that all of this is coming off of the dead corpse of Shadowlands, where everybody's like, oh, WoW is dead now.
No, the thing...
it's like a phoenix reborn.
It definitely feels like that. However, just getting to the point, would it be possible that at the end of all this, that when we get into 2029 or something, and we get the announcement for the next whatever it is for World of Warcraft, is that going to be WoW 2.0? And if WoW 2.0 is going to be like a brand new game, a brand new engine, okay, we're going there. I'm not sure if it's too far-fetched or not, but I always said this, like even like from 5 years ago when we started doing videos like these with talking about WoW 2 and what could that mean.
Oh yeah, this has always been a topic.
The first thing they have to make sure of, okay, so yeah, pretty graphics, blah, 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 everybody, and some people want new graphics, some people want to retain the graphics, that's not important. What they have to do is migrate the database of everything all the players have to this new game. If you don't do that, you will not be able to do, because you cannot ask people to move to WoW 2 and not have them keep all of their mounts, achievements, transmog. You cannot do that.
You know, there's two things that I want to say that would kind of support this. First of all, you could say that warbands is one way of making making the database more malleable between characters, considering that one character can interact with the database way more than before, because now as a mage I can get plate armor as a transmog. So that's one thing. That's the first step in like a lot of other steps.
It's
And
really
the second and the second thing is that what I've noticed testing all of these specs on the beta is that I have a significantly reduced amount of buttons to press. And Microsoft has acquired Blizzard.
Everybody's talking about that. I don't
know if that's gonna be true, but if you're gonna have WoW 2.0, if you're gonna have a new version of WoW, it would have to have some console implications.
Well, we don't know what the landscape will be in terms of like platforms and technology in 2029.
Well, if you look at like Final Fantasy, it's always on the console as well. So there you have to have.
I'm not taking it out, but. You have these platforms now. I believe that by 2029, I don't think hardware is going to be that much more relevant. I think streaming games is going to be where it's at. I think that's the future.
Probably.
Because right now we're looking at some of that. It's a different topic of discussion. However, yes, WoW 2.0, among many other things, it has to make sure it takes.
Whether or not it gets on consoles or not, they're making it. They're doing it in a way where they leave that option open.
Of course,
of interacting with WoW with a different interface, whether it's keyboard or mouse.
They'll have to put in something like Game Pass. I mean, look at Diablo 4. Once Diablo 4 hit the Game Pass, the numbers for the game just it was astronomical. And
they're not going to pass on that.
You get a huge influx of players regardless, right? But that means a whole different monetary options for them because Game Pass is, Netflix style, whatever. But just circling back to that, listen, we're not programmers. We don't do code, or we don't know how shit works.
You do spaghetti code. Sometimes it's better than the alpha versions of WoW.
I think like if you give them enough time, I think that is possible. I think like in a span of 5 years or something, you can have
that's
some.
What we're talking about. It's like
5-6 years, right? So you still have your current cadence of content will not suffer, but in the backside, nobody knows about this very very project and thing here. Like the first work that has to be done is like migrate all of the database, everything to be available and ready for the brand new engine and the brand new stuff that's going to happen within the WoW 2. And that's the main thing. You can talk about the new characters, the new story, the new blah, blah, blah. That is irrelevant. The graphics are irrelevant. The sounds, everything will be irrelevant if this original database from the modern WoW is not being migrated. Because so this game has been so like vital to so many of us, and we're so attached to like the amount of time we put into this game that it's not going to be easy.
It's not fair to call it a video game.
Yeah,
it's just a video game.
It's a lot. And you cannot really transform modern WoW into another classic version of WoW. We already have classic WoW. We have retail modern WoW. The next step would be, because, okay, you can talk about segmenting your audience, which Blizzard did with World of Warcraft. You have the classic crowd, you have the Season of Discovery, you have the modern retail WoW, and now you're probably going to have a developed remixed new event crowd as well. That's fine. If you're going to add another one, so you're going to transform the modern retail game into some sort of like weird ass classic 2.0 whatever, that's going to segment it even more, and that's not really healthy on the long term. So I would feel the next natural step would be either to just have WoW 2.0 as we talked about it. So that's impossible. No, I think that would be the best time to have WoW 2.0. So basically at the end of the World Sword Saga and with all of the database migrated there. That after that is like spot on, and Flame will not use his the insane title and not use his not lose his whatever rare mount you have for Ashes of my ass mount. My ass then it's all going to be great. Then you can have everybody focus on the new engine, new characters, graphics, sound, all of that, the premise, everything.
It's definitely going to be a revolutionary thing that no other game has done.
I'm telling you, they know. I do believe Blizzard knows. They know if they're going to make a bomb drop of an announcement at a BlizzCon or whatever event and say, WoW 2.0, 2029, see it then.
Yeah,
everybody's gonna lose their shit, and I'm not talking even like us existing players. I'm not talking new returning players. That's the moment when World of Warcraft is gonna pique the interest of new players. This is gonna be the moment where, holy shit, this is a second version of the game. I never played it.
I've seen my dad play it, but I never really wanted to get into it. It's like, now I can play it now.
Yeah. Okay. So, I think this can make for a cool ass video actually for the WoW 2.0.
Sure, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the seeds have been planted.
Yeah, but I guess we can wrap it up, as they say, for this edition. Can you believe it? We made it to the 3rd edition of WoW Wrap Up.
It's coming along, and it's actually quite a lot of fun to actually spin these topics around and bounce ideas off of each other, and with you guys in chat as well. More to come for sure.
Yeah. So thank you guys for joining. Remember, you can catch this show every Thursday. I forgot the hours. It's on
these hours -2.
God damn it. No, it's 7 p.m. CT and 10 a.m. PST. Okay, so
we're gonna post it on
it's everywhere in all of the videos. Okay, so once again, thank you for joining. Thank you for chatting. Sorry for not replying to everybody, but this is the format of the show. But a lot of this is gonna make it into videos, and you can post your comments there. And we're gonna try to reply as much as possible. Other than that, catch you tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow with Mythic Plus testing.
Yeah, all day, every day, Mythic Plus with Flame over
the new
there.
affixes.
Yeah, new affixes. And then we're going to compare what we said today with what's happening.
It's going to be an interesting topic.
Right. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Boom. Wrap up, baby.